Hey everybody, it's your old pal James Banderas Smith, and I thought I'd introduce myself. A lot of you guys are actually new to me. I used to be on YouTube a little bit, like I didn't really gain much of a following. I do remember when I first started, like having a YouTube channel, I would call my channel shelf porn. I would call that because I have a ton of books like over to this side over here, and they're pretty rare and pretty awesome. The only thing is, I would get about 1,000 hits from each video, but they'd last like 3 seconds because the word porn brings the undesirable people. So I quickly changed it to something else. I don't even remember what I called it after that. But I kept doing the same thing. I just select random books off my shelf and basically talk about them. And that's what I'm going to do today. But first, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my story. I draw comics. I'm actually working on my seventh book now. I'd say I started in about 2023. I had a stroke in 2019, and then I had a second stroke in 2020 in June. Um, the first stroke actually affected my left side. I think this is actually raising my right hand in the mirror camera. But yeah, that's my left hand, and I had to basically relearn how to write. I couldn't even draw a box. It just took me about 2 3 months before I felt I was back to where was before the stroke. Now, before that, I had been working at Walmart. And they were actually pretty good to me. They actually gave me all my insurance, took care of me and everything, and I'm very thankful for that. But I basically I had to retire. Now, before that, I had just been like a hobby artist. But I swore to myself, if I did regain the use of my hand, I would stop making like a waste of my gifts. I would embrace drawing a comic book, which I always wanted to do, and just get out there and actually do it. And then by the time I was better than I had been, I had a second stroke. Now that actually affected my other side. I'm actually holding my arm up because it's paralyzed. I can move it a little bit, as you can see, but I've got like a claw hand. It's really hard. So because my hand doesn't quite work, uh, I realized you really need both hands to draw traditionally. So, well, at least comic books, because you got those panels and panel borders and all. That's pretty difficult to do with two hands, and like hold your paper steady. So, on the advice of Richard Friend, the famous DC Comics inker, I I bought a Clip Studio and a Wacom tablet, and pretty much everything that the pros basically use to basically do their artwork. And I put out about 7 books since then. Well, I put out six. I actually put out 8 books, but I put out 6 regular issues and 2 color specials. So yeah, I've done 8 so far. I'm actually working on my ninth right now, which is actually the seventh issue. Try to wrap your head around all that and all those numbers. But anyways, I'm back. I'm better than ever. I basically I thought I would just show you some of my books in my collection to kick this off. I figure instead of just posting art to my TikTok, I would just show off what I have. We'll have some fun. And I think I've got some really rare stuff here. Now, the first book is actually Swallow, which is this is Swallow number 3. Now, this is an Ashley Wood project, but basically he gathered all of his artist friends and gave them like a platform, which I like to do in my book actually. I give away about 4 pages, like to an artist up and coming, be it a writer or a traditional artist, whatever. And I basically let them do whatever they want. And I pay them about $50 per page, which is not much, but I'm pretty much the bottom of the barrel as far as comics go. But I still get by. I've met all of my Kickstarter needs, and I'd say the biggest chunk of my money goes to basically supporting those artists and basically let them live their dreams. But anyways, the reason I showed you Swallow number 3, this is David Cho. Now this is like 34 bucks on eBay. And as you probably know, if you're a David Cho fan, 34 bucks is a great deal. There's books that go for like 250, $1,000 even, like with just a little bit of David Cho. I'd say there's probably about 10, 12 pages in here, a little short interview. And let's see, let's read off the other artists because I don't want to sell those guys short. Let's see. I got Jeremy Gittes, Ryan Hughes, man, Greg Staples, Sean Phillips, Duncan Fegredo. There's a lot of great guys here just doing their own thing. Usually nice ink wash pages. I'll just turn to a random page here. Whatever opens up, we'll see who we got. All right, let's see. Oh, Andrew Robinson. Yeah, check that out. Guy's a beast. It's great stuff. Now, I'll put that aside and I'll show you my next book. Now, this is a special edition of Swamp Thing. Okay, this is actually a Titan Books version. And the reason I got this is, well, this is the Alan Moore stuff. I think Rick Veitch. Let's see. Well, this is Steve Bissette. Okay, but the inside is in black and white. Now, I know they did the essential volumes of the Swamp Thing series. They were like one issue at a time in black and white. But you get about 4 issues in one of these. So keep your eyes open for those. You'll always go on eBay. Sometimes I'll go to Amazon and I'll buy from a used seller. It doesn't really support Amazon that much as it just drives traffic to their site. Now, here's another one. This is Laszlo Parker, if you can see that there, aka Mobius. Laszlo Parker is actually the third identity of Mobius, also known as Jean Giraud. Now, here's some of the interior. I believe he used another name because the style is a bit different from what people are used to from Mobius. And I believe this was adopted in the late 90s. And it's just cool to have something a little different. Now, the book's not a great size, and the paper quality, just gets by. But I recommend that you guys give that a shot. Then I've got a couple of Vanguard sketchbooks. I've been collecting sketchbooks lately. I found a bunch of Tundra sketchbooks that are really cool, but the only one who really leaves notes with his art is Charles Vess. Those are the best. Now, that's just a shameless plug. I don't even have that book out, but I highly recommend it. Now, as far as the Vanguard sketchbooks go, here's Neal Adams. Now, these have lots of sketches and lots of interview. There's like 90 pages of sketches and interview intertwined. And Neal Adams is no slouch. The guy's got a lot to say about the industry. Love him or hate him, I think he was a really great artist. Same goes for the Vanguard Al Williamson interview and sketchbook. As you can see, this is, well, here, let me flip it around. You see how that one column there is on the side there? The interview is a little sparse, but, it does go 90 pages, so you're still getting a lot of information there. And, Al Williamson is always the master. And last, I gotta say, I haven't read this one yet. I got it for my collection. It's a lot harder to read my books since the one arm doesn't work. But this is Wally Wood, or Wallace Wood, as his friends would call him. Well, let's see. I don't know how they would get by because they can't really do an interview with a guy who passed away in the very early 80s, I think it was. But no, it looks like that there's actually an interview in here. I guess that was, maybe it was a rare interview just used for the sketchbook. Well, here's some of the art as well. And there we have it. I just figured I'd give you guys a little taste and, help you guys enjoy. Now, if you have any questions or you'd like to talk comics, I'm always an open book. Feel free to message me anytime. I'm always here. I don't really work except for on my art. So, I do go to rehab a couple times a week. So there's about 2 hours of the week where I can't really get back to you right away. But otherwise, hit me up. All right, thanks a lot. Bye, guys.